2025 has been a great year for music, with a variety of genres dominating the charts. In this video, we'll look at the best-selling albums in 2025 in the US so far. Music by Playboi Carti. Playboi Carti's highly anticipated fourth studio album, Music, finally dropped on March 14, 2025, following a 5-year hiatus since his cult classic Whole Lotta Red. The album immediately capitalized on the hype, selling to 198,000 units in the first week. It maintained the top spot the following week, and it has accumulated 982,000 units sold so far. This was largely driven by huge streaming performance. On its release day, Music became the biggest debut of 2025 on Spotify and the 7th largest streaming debut in the platform's history. Carti's strategic or unstrategic rollout and the generational run of features he was on before the album, like on Kanye's #1 hit Carnival and Travis Scott's Fiend, undoubtedly fueled the initial success. There were high-profile collaborations on the album too, like Rather Lie with The Weeknd, which peaked at #4 on the charts and dominated music conversations that week. Despite the initial explosive performance, Music has been gradually declining as time went on, and none of its individual tracks have become bona fide hits. But still, it is the 10th best-selling album of the year so far. Mayhem by Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga's Mayhem, released on March 7, 2025, was a return for a pop legend, securing its position as the 9th best-selling album of the year, with 967,000 units sold in the US as of today. Described by Gaga herself as authentic chaos, the album was compared to the famed Monster when it was first released. The lead single Disease set the tone, but it was her chart-topping duet with Bruno Mars, Die With A Smile, that became a global anthem, holding the #1 spot on the Billboard Hot 100 for 5 weeks. The single alone is a monumental success, now sitting on an astonishing 2.7 billion streams in a matter of months. It was added on as the last song on the album. Mayhem debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, selling 219,000 units in the first week. It has now spent 18 weeks on the chart, as it has maintained its popularity. The album's second single, Abracadabra, also performed well, reaching #5 on the Billboard Global 200. Beyond these impressive numbers, the album represents a significant cultural moment for Gaga. It brought her back to the pinnacle of pop music, adding to her legacy. One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen. Morgan Wallen's One Thing at a Time continued its amazing longevity well into 2025. The album was an immediate commercial juggernaut, shattering country music streaming records and dominating the Billboard 200 for an unprecedented 69 consecutive weeks the year it came out. This sustained success is not just a testament to its initial popularity, but its enduring legacy, allowing it to continue accumulating significant unit sales more than 2 years after its initial release. In 2025 alone, One Thing at a Time has sold an impressive 1.1 million units in the US, securing its place among the year's top sellers, competing with albums that just came out. Its consistent presence in the top tier of the Billboard 200 throughout 2024 into 2025 is very rare these days, as it has now spent 123 weeks on the charts and currently sits at #3. The album got an additional boost this year after Morgan dropped a new album. He has had an amazing year, dominating every chart in the US. The longevity of the album speaks to the power of a strong catalog and a loyal following. Hurry Up Tomorrow by The Weeknd. The Weeknd's Hurry Up Tomorrow, released on January 31, 2025, made an immediate impact as the conclusion to the trilogy that began with 2020's After Hours and continued with 2022's Dawn FM. Announces his final album under the name The Weeknd, his 6th studio album arrived with a lot of anticipation. It quickly became one of the largest debuts of 2025, moving 490,000 equivalent album units in the first week alone. The album's success was driven by huge streaming numbers, gaining around 300 million streams on Spotify in its opening week, surpassing his previous career high set by After Hours. While songs like Dancing in the Flames and the Brazilian funk-infused collaboration with Anitta Sao Paulo generated buzz prior to the album, it was the single Timeless featuring Playboi Carti that became an undeniable breakout hit. Timeless has now accumulated close to 1 billion streams on Spotify and peaked at #3 on the Billboard Hot 100. As of mid-2025, Hurry Up Tomorrow has already accumulated 1.2 million units sold in the US, despite an accompanying film starring Jenna Ortega and Barry Keoghan receiving bad reviews. Critics have largely praised the album as a fitting farewell to The Weeknd's persona. The album ends with a callback to the first song in his discography, High for This, completing the story. Some Sexy Songs for You by Drake and Party Next Door. The release of Some Sexy Songs for You on Valentine's Day 2025 was the return for Drake following a high-profile feud with Kendrick Lamar and filing a lawsuit against his label UMG. The 21-track collab project with Party Next Door debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, selling 246,000 units in the first week, having the largest streaming week of any album in 2025 at that point, with a total of 1.2 million units sold throughout the year. The album's smooth blend of R&B and hip-hop proved doubters wrong about Drake's ability to rebound quickly from an L. From the album, Nokia emerged as a clear standout, gradually climbing the charts to peak at #2 on the Billboard Hot 100. Other songs like Die Trying, Give Me a Hug, and CN Tower did well, all getting respectable streams. When the album went to #1, Drake tied with Jay-Z and Taylor Swift for the most #1 albums by a solo artist with 14 chart toppers. Despite the controversy surrounding its release, Some Sexy Songs for You has become one of the biggest albums of the year. Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. Sabrina Carpenter's Short and Sweet has proven to be a juggernaut in 2025, building on its initial success from 2024 as the release of the deluxe boosted its sales, originally debuting at #1 on the Billboard 200 in September 2024 with 362,000 units sold in the first week. The album's reissue on February 14, 2025 added 5 new tracks, including a remix of Please Please Please, and sold 156,000 units in the week alone. As of today, the album has accumulated 1.3 million units just this year. This resurgence cemented Sabrina's status as a pop powerhouse, with the album's catchy singles Espresso and Bedchem maintaining strong presence. The reissue's additional tracks like Busy Woman added to the album's streaming total, going on to peak at #27 on the Billboard Hot 100. This sustained popularity continued Sabrina's momentum, as she was the breakout star of 2024. She has sparked controversy with the rollout to her next album, A Man's Best Friend, because of the artwork and its lead single Man-Child, which went on to top the charts. Debí Tirar Más Fotos by Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny's Debí Tirar Más Fotos released on January 5, 2025, a love letter to Puerto Rican culture, blending modern reggaeton with traditional sounds. The album made an immediate impact, debuting at #2 on the Billboard 200 because of its weird release, selling 112,000 units in the US in its first week. By its second week, it climbed up to #1, moving around 203,000 units, and it continued its run at the top for 3 weeks, and on May 17, it came back to the top of the charts, making it 4 weeks on #1 and showing its staying power. The album's streaming dominance is clear, as Bad Bunny is a huge global star, with his debut week gaining around 579 million streams just on Spotify, making it the 4th most streamed album in a single week ever. The lead single DTMF is the most streamed song released this year, now sitting on close to 1 billion streams on Spotify, with over 1.6 million units sold since its release just in the US. The album shows Bad Bunny's stronghold in the music industry. GNX by Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar's GNX, a surprise release on November 22, 2024, has proven to be a powerhouse into 2025, securing its place as the 3rd best-selling album of the year in the US. It initially debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, earning 319,000 units in its first week. Its momentum carried into the new year, coming back to #1 for a second week on February 22, after Kendrick's Super Bowl halftime show performance. With 3 albums in the top 10 following the halftime show, GNX, Damn, and Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick became the first rapper to achieve that. GNX then came back to the top of the charts 3 weeks later, on March 15. His lead single Luther featuring SZA totally dominated 2025, spending 13 weeks on #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, further cementing Kendrick and SZA's commercial pull. Their sold-out Grand National Stadium tour also helped the album's popularity, moving 1.7 million units in the US just this year. GNX has already achieved longevity. SOS by SZA. SZA's second studio album, SOS, has really stood the test of time, securing the 2nd spot among this year's best-selling albums. Initially released on December 9, 2022, the album experienced a resurgence when its deluxe Lana was released on December 20, 2024, adding another 15 tracks to the original 23-song lineup. The reissue propelled SOS back to #1 on the Billboard 200, in January 2025, marking his 13th non-consecutive week at the top, starting off the year with 2 back-to-back weeks at number 1. It then came back to the top again on May 3. The album's longevity is amazing, spending its entire 135-week run in the top 20 and becoming the longest-running R&B chart topper since Whitney Houston's The Bodyguard soundtrack. SZA is on a generational run, co-headlining a stadium tour, and with an album that refuses to leave the top of the charts. It has now accumulated 1.7 million units in sales just this year. I'm the Problem by Morgan Wallen. Morgan Wallen's 4th studio album, I'm the Problem, is the undisputed best-selling album of 2025 in the US by a big margin, moving 2.7 million album equivalent units so far. Released on May 16, the album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling 493,000 units in its first week, making it the largest debut of the year. His strategic rollout, featuring a lot of singles and promotional tracks, like the Tate McRae duet What I Want, which debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, further fueled his dominance, with 36 of his 37 tracks charting on the Billboard Hot 100. The album's sustained popularity is evident, as it has spent the first 2 months, including 8 non-consecutive weeks on number 1 on the Billboard 200, an achievement unmatched by any other release in 2025. Morgan Wallen has cemented his position as a leading figure in country music, and will probably end 2025 with the best-selling album of the year. What is your favorite album this year? Tell me in the comments below.